Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for waiting for my presentation. I appreciate everyone that stayed. I'm going to show you my work this semester, or no, not just this semester, but this entire year on Afghanistan. But first, I'd like to give you a general overview. There's several provinces in Afghanistan, and within the provinces there's districts. They changed all the time because of how unstable Afghanistan was before, but now that was the map of the districts. Anyways, what we're doing is temporal GIS analysis. What it is examining time and geographic information for a series of events or specific incidents being a negative connotation for patterns to try and pin down what's going on with the incidents or events. So here we are with Afghanistan. Now, Afghanistan has 6 countries bordering it. It has very porous borders, especially along its south and eastern side, because Pakistan, that's where Pakistan is, and it runs very long around it, and it's very, very rugged country, mountainous terrain. In addition, there's also the Hindu Kush that helps infiltrations out. So what you're seeing is increase in shading means there's been 12 incidents in this area in addition to the prior incidents. So every increase in shading, there's been 12 incidents. And the dots, which aren't in sync with the shading, are just there to give you a clue that there are other attacks going on in the country. But the major areas are the increase in the shading. And you can see that there has been a move-in from the south. And what they did in the south is there's a push from the rural areas to the city areas. And many people argue that Pakistan is either looking the other way or helping the terrorist organizations out through the government services. And it's interesting to see whether the data fits their information. And now what you'll see is once we start getting a hold on the south, once the terrorists start getting a hold on the south, this is when the United States is ignoring what's going on because we're in Iraq. You'll see a movement of attacks up north in cities like Herat, Mazar-e Sharif, various northern cities and various northern provinces. But what is interesting in the north is the attacks tend to focus on the cities and inner districts instead of the outside districts of the provinces, which happened in the south, suggesting that probably they didn't have as safe of a haven up north as they do down south. And not home bases or anything. And many people argue that what happened is attacks from the south allowed them to capture territory, make safe havens, make safe passage, and allowed the Taliban and other terrorist organizations to move up north. And they started attacking cities and driving fear into the population and putting in puppet leaders, basically, or parallel hierarchies, what have you. And what you'll see is tends to be this ring around Afghanistan. You'll see it next in the next presentation, but it's a ring of roadways, A1, and attacks tend to focus around there because that's where the population is. Again, okay, so some conclusions for this. Tend to attack the border provinces in the south and center first, or border districts, and then the cities, with the exception of Kunar because of the Hindu Kush. The attacks in the south might have been helped to capture land and then move up north, as I said before. Okay, now what we see here is attacks. The larger dots are suicide attacks, and the smaller dots are normal terrorist attacks or other terrorist attacks. And what we see is attacks tend to focus in cities. They're spread around. They started to propagate a lot after 2006. That's when there was a huge increase in suicide attacks. And the border provinces tend to see a lot of suicide attacks in the rural areas, in addition to the cities. That's only the southern and western border provinces. Suicide terrorism becomes a large problem after 2006. The attacks before that are only on the border, Kandahar and Kabul. Suicide terrorism tends to occur on the ring. That's what I spoke about before, meaning that they focus on the rural areas in the border provinces first and then move in. Okay, now what I want you to pay attention to here, I'm sorry that the imagery is bad here, is I want you to pay attention to the orange dots and the light green dots. Okay, now what we tend to see is that the orange dots and the light green dots, the orange dots, which are explosions, tend to propagate along the roads, which are the purple shading here. And you'll see that also the green dots tend to do so as well. It's because hostage taking and kidnapping really easy along roadways. Goons will set up checkpoints and just kidnap you basically and hold you for ransom. And the explosions all tend to occur around roadways. Okay, so thank you all for watching my presentation. Just some final conclusion from that last slide. Attacks almost all along roadways, few rural cut-off villages, most on or outside the ring. Hostage incidents, whether kidnappings or hostage taking, occur on the road or the cities. Bombings and explosions, IEDs, popular in cities and roadways. Thank you all again for your time, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. This is work in progress. I tend to, develop it over this next month really intensely and use it for my final paper. Thank you all. Have a good day.